Okay, to sum up my speech, well, I was given 5 minutes by Professor Stefan Huber in order to say about school leadership in general. And I try to concentrate on the past, the present, and the future. And for the past, I think there is still some confusion and we need some clarification in order to really define or redefine what school leadership means around the world. Each one of us who deals with research and teaching in school leadership has their own understanding and definitions, and I think it is time that we create a common vocabulary, for the issues that we're dealing. So that was kind of a critique towards myself and all of our colleagues, the way we deal with the issues. For the present, I think we have a lot of models and frameworks through which we all operate, and we try to see what actually school leaders do. And I try to give part of the results of a research project in which I was involved with a good friend and colleague, Stefan Braukmann, who is German but working in Austria. And we developed a holistic leadership model, as we called it, in where we holistic because we try to integrate context together with what actually school leaders do, and we called it the school leadership radius. So within that, we found that successful and excellent school leaders operate through 5 main leadership styles, as we call them: the instructional or pedagogical, the participative, the structuring, the entrepreneurial, and the staff development style. Out of those 5, in the 13 countries that we already validated this model, entrepreneurial leadership style keep coming up. And I guess here I would need to define what did we mean by this. And to put it shortly and more succinctly, by entrepreneurial leadership style, we mean the extent to which school leaders try to invite outsiders inside the school in order to do a better job, like create strategic alliances with the church, with the police, with the parents, with anyone around the school system. And that kept coming up irrespective of context in every country that we worked. The second one was the pedagogical, when the school leader tries to improve on school teaching, learning that takes in the schools, as well as encourage innovative approaches while teaching. And then the third is the structuring style, providing some vision for the school and then trying to have rules and regulations that are equally applicable to teachers, students, everybody involved in the school. So then I moved from that into the future. Where do we go from here? And the main premise that I had is that context is very important, context matters, and that's what our colleagues, my other colleagues who were involved with me in the panel, Phil Heilinger and Alma Harris and RC, also stressed, meaning that we do not pay too much attention that as much as we should in order to see the context in which school leaders operate. The surprising fact, at least to me through our research, is that with with context, we mean we had in mind when we did our research the macro context or the system level. And yet school leaders seem to be not so much influenced by the macro or the meso, but they were influenced by what we call the micro or the axe, the area close to school, which came out of a research that Alexandra Schwartz, another German colleague, did with Stefan Braukmann, meaning that school leaders have the general context in mind, but what really matters to them in how they operate at the school site is really their immediate context and not so much at the system level. So that was surprising for us. Where do we go from here? I guess more importance should be placed on context and in which school leaders operate. I'm tempted to say that the teaching and learning has to be diversified depending on the kind of students and teachers that the school has. We do have some general teaching strategies and practices that constitute what is called in the literature school effectiveness research and like effective teaching practices. That is like a menu, so to speak, that teachers could choose from and then see whether they are applicable for their own students, for their own classrooms. So we are kind of more in the future, we'll be creating more of what we call communities of learning. One size does not fit all, and therefore it should be customized to the kind of students and the kind of teachers we have in the school of the future. And I am tempted to say that through so much research we have, I don't think that there's any definitive conclusion about if lecturing, for instance, face-to-face is more effective than cooperative or collaborative or collegiate work with the students. It depends on the socioeconomic status of the students, of the numbers we have in a classroom, and of the subject matter we're teaching. So teachers should be cognizant of what they have as an apparatus of which to choose what is more suitable in the specific situation. And then school leaders have the great obligation to facilitate these kinds of freedoms within their school they're leading. Well, when I have to talk about Cyprus, my own country, I think the biggest challenges for the school system and school leaders is really to create more autonomy within the individual school unit. Currently, the education system of Cyprus is highly centralized and actually non-accountable. So I think we need to build the structures in which we provide more autonomy at the school level so that school leaders and teachers together can create their own philosophy about pedagogy and teaching and learning in their own schools within general guidelines, so to speak, of the ministry. Currently, the Ministry of Education kind of controls just about everything that happens in the school system. And I don't think that's the right approach, meaning one size does not fit all, okay? It should not be like that. Therefore, more autonomy, and then at the same time, when you provide more degrees of freedom for school leaders and schools to operate as autonomous units, then you have to create also some accountability systems. So this coupling of more degrees of freedom to operate and then some accountability towards society which funds public education should be more closely examined within the Cyprus situation.